Welcome back. Let's talk about conflict of interest. This is a hot button issue and becoming ever more important in the world of scholarly writing and publication. So, how do you define a conflict of interest? What's considered a conflict? What's considered an interest? How do these two work together to wreak havoc at times in scholarly writing and publication? Take a second to think about it. So when we're defining conflict of interest, this is a great definition from the Committee on Publication Ethics. When an author, editor, or reviewer has interests that are not fully apparent and that may influence their judgments on what is published. So you can see a conflict isn't necessarily just about the author. It could be the editor and or the reviewer as well. And it says has interests that are not fully apparent, which means that conflicts, whether they influence or don't influence the decision, should be made apparent, should be disclosed. If they're not disclosed, it may seem even more likely that they've influenced judgment on what's published, unfortunately. So disclose often and early. So some areas of conflict of interest that are of concern. Business relationships. This is always a big one. Does the person have business interests or business relationships that are a cause of conflict? Or a conflict of interest, sorry. Could they be involved in purchasing decisions? Could there be gifts or travel involved? Any use of assets that could be involved? Research activities, a big one, number 6. Activities regarding students, faculty, and staff, and activities related to family members. All of these come into play in scholarly writing and publications, and you need to be aware of them. And if you have any potential areas of conflict, you must disclose them. It's likely that when your publication is accepted for review or accepted for publication, that they may ask you to complete a conflict of interest. Certainly with more and more grant programs, they're asking folks to complete a conflict of interest certification statement when they submit the proposal, and oftentimes, again, when the proposal becomes an award or a grant or a contract. So you want to be mindful of these areas of conflict of interest, and not necessarily that they're wrong or bad to receive gifts or to travel or to have some advantage in research activities, but what you want to be sure that you're doing is disclosing them so that they can be managed and reviewed. So what do conflicts do? Conflicts of interest can jeopardize the integrity of our research. If someone perceives a conflict of interest is evident in your research, it could jeopardize the integrity of your research. You could lose confidence from the public and trust from the public. A lot of the public are funding our research through their tax dollars, so we want to be mindful of that. It could harm your individual reputation as well as your institution's reputation. As I mentioned before, many journals and sponsors require conflict of interest assurances or disclosures before they even look at your grant proposal or your manuscript. So you want to be thoughtful of those. So it's important to mention that conflicts occur all the time. But the important takeaway is that most conflicts can be managed without causing any harm. But they must be disclosed to be effectively managed. That's the takeaway point. Disclose, disclose, disclose. If you have any questions or comments or concerns, please reach out to me, and good luck with your publications.